The people of Rome were in search of a worthy successor to their great king. Fame, the harbinger of truth, declared that Numa, a man of brilliance, was destined to be the next ruler. Numa wasn't content with just understanding the Sabine rituals. His inquisitive mind sought a deeper comprehension of the world. This thirst for knowledge led him on extensive travels, eventually bringing him to the city founded by Hercules, a stranger to Italy. Numa inquired of a local elder well-versed in history about who had established a Greek city on Italian soil. The elder explained that Hercules, the son of Zeus, had arrived at the Licinian shores after a successful journey with cattle he had obtained in Iberia. Hercules found rest in the hospitable home of Crotona, a man of power. Upon his departure, Hercules prophesied that a city would one day be built there during the reign of Croton's grandsons. This prophecy was fulfilled. During this time, Myscelos, the son of Aelmon, a Greek favored by the gods, was alive. One night, as Myscelos slept, Hercules, the god armed with a club, appeared to him in a dream. Hercules commanded Myscelos to abandon his homeland and journey to the distant river Ezar, threatening him with severe consequences if he disobeyed. Awakening troubled by the dream, Myscelos was torn between obeying the god's command and adhering to the law, which prohibited leaving his country. The penalty for leaving was death. As the sun set and night fell, the same god appeared to Myscelos again in his sleep, repeating the command and threatening him even more sternly. Fearing for his life, Myscelos decided to relocate his homeland. News of his plan spread rapidly, and Myscelos was accused of defying the law. During his trial, with the evidence against him clear, Myscelos raised his hands and face towards the heavens, pleading for Hercules' assistance, the god who had put him in this predicament. In ancient times, verdicts were determined by white or black pebbles. White pebbles signified acquittal and black pebbles indicated conviction. In Myscelos' case, all the pebbles cast were black, condemning him. However, as the pebbles were poured out to be counted, their colors miraculously changed from black to white. With Hercules' intervention, Myscelos was acquitted. Myscelos expressed his gratitude to Hercules, the son of Amphitryon. He then sailed across the Ionian Sea with favorable winds, passing by Tarentum, Sybaris, Nethys, Thurium, Temesa, and the Iapygian fields. Finally, he reached the mouth of the river Ezar, as instructed by Hercules. Not far from there, Myscelos discovered a burial mound where Croton's remains were interred. He constructed his city walls on that designated spot, naming the city after Croton, who was buried there. According to tradition, this is the origin of the Greek city built on the Italian coast. A man from Samos, who had fled his homeland and its rulers due to his disdain for tyranny, believed he could communicate with the gods, despite their distant location in the heavens. Using his mind's eye, he sought to understand the secrets of nature that were hidden from humans. After careful study, he shared his knowledge with the public. He gathered crowds who listened in awe as he revealed the origins of the universe, the causes of things, the nature of God, the source of snow, the cause of lightning, was it Zeus or the thundering winds, the reason for earthquakes, the laws governing the stars' movements, and other mysteries hidden from mortals. This same man was also the first to prohibit the consumption of animals as food. Despite his wisdom, his words were not believed. Mortals, stop defiling yourselves with such disgusting food. You have grain, apples heavy on branches, grapes swelling on vines, delicious herbs, and some that can be softened by fire. You have milk and honey scented with thyme. The earth generously provides riches, pleasant food, and delicacies without slaughter and bloodshed. Beasts eat flesh, but not all of them. Horses, sheep, and cattle survive on grass. Only the cruel and fierce, like Armenian tigers, raging lions, and bears with wolves, feast on bloody diets. Alas, what a crime it is. Entrails buried in other entrails, one ravenous body fattened on carcasses crammed inside it, one creature living through the death of another. With such abundance from the earth, our best mother, nothing pleases you but to gnaw with savage teeth the sad product of your wounds and revive the barbaric ways of the Cyclops? Can't you satisfy your hunger without killing another living creature? The Golden Age, as we call it, thrived on fruits, herbs, and didn't stain its mouth with blood. Birds flew freely in the air and hares wandered fearlessly. Fish were not betrayed by hooks. Everywhere was peaceful, untroubled, and safe. Then, some evil advisor, whoever he may have been, envied this simple food and devoured meals made from carcasses. He opened the door to wickedness. I believe that steel, now stained with blood, was first warmed by the slaughter of wild beasts. And that would have been enough. I admit it's okay to kill animals that threaten us, but even then, they shouldn't be eaten. This wickedness went further. The pig was believed to deserve death as the first victim because it rooted up seeds and destroyed the year's harvest. The goat, after nibbling on vines, was led to the altar of Dionysus for punishment. Their own actions led to their ruin. But what have sheep, a harmless breed born to serve humans, done to deserve this? They provide nectar in their udders, soft wool for clothing, and they are more useful to us alive than dead. What about oxen, guileless and innocent animals born for labor? A man who slaughters the tiller of his fields, the one who just removed the weight of the curved plow, is ungrateful for the gifts of the harvest. How can someone strike with an axe the neck worn bare from labor, the neck that turned the hard ground so many times and produced countless harvests? This wickedness isn't enough. People believe the gods themselves enjoy the slaughter of hardworking oxen. A flawless and beautiful ox, beauty brings destruction in this case, is adorned with garlands and gold and placed on the altar. Unaware of its fate, the ox hears prayers and sees the grain it helped produce placed on its forehead. Then, it's struck down, its blood staining the knives it might have seen reflected in clean water. People then examine the entrails ripped from its beating chest, searching for the god's intentions. Why this craving for forbidden food, mortals? Don't eat flesh. Listen to my pleas. When you offer slaughtered ox limbs to your taste buds, remember you're devouring your tillers of the ground. A god compels me to speak, so I will obey and deliver my own prophetic warnings. I will reveal the heavens and the oracles of the divine will. I will sing of wonders never before understood and things long hidden. I delight in soaring among the stars, leaving the sluggish earth behind, carried by clouds on the mighty Atlas shoulders. I look down on confused and unreasonable minds, offering them advice as they fear extinction. I will reveal the order of things ordained by fate. Mortals, gripped by the fear of icy death, why do you fear the river Styx, the shades, or empty names, inventions of poets and atonements of an imaginary world? Whether fire consumes your bodies or old age dissolves them slowly, believe they suffer no harm. Souls are not subject to death. They leave their old dwellings and inhabit new ones, living on in those new bodies. In the Trojan War, I was Euphorbus, the son of Panthus. The younger son of Atreus stabbed me in the chest with his spear. I recently recognized my shield, which I used to carry on my left arm, in the temple of Hera in Argos, the kingdom of Abas. Everything changes, but nothing dies. The soul moves from one body to another, taking on any form. It can go from animals to humans and vice versa. The soul never dies. Just as soft wax is shaped into new forms, the soul remains the same but takes on different forms. Don't let your desires overpower your natural affection. Stop driving the souls of your relatives from their bodies with this terrible slaughter. Don't feed blood with blood. I'm being carried across the vast ocean, my sails filled with wind. Nothing in the world remains the same. Everything is always flowing, and every form changes in a fleeting course. Even time itself flows continuously, just like a river. Neither the river nor the fleeting hour can stop. Waves push each other forward, the one before being pushed by the one behind, and in turn pushing the one in front. Similarly, moments fly by following each other, constantly renewed. The past moment is gone, the non-existent now exists, and every minute is replaced. You see the night emerge and move towards dawn, and this bright daylight replace the dark night. The sky doesn't look the same when everything is at rest in weariness, and Lucifer appears on his white horse. It looks different when Eos, the daughter of Pallas, precedes the day, painting the world that will soon be given to Phoebus. The sun itself appears reddish in the morning when it rises from the earth, and reddish again when it sets. At its peak, it's bright white because the ether is purer there, far from the earth's influence. The moon Artemis never has the same appearance. If she's waxing, her current form is smaller than tomorrow's, but if she's waning, it's bigger. Don't you see the year reflecting our lives, taking on 4 different appearances? Spring is mild and youthful like a newborn. The blades are just sprouting, weak and soft, offering hope to the farmer. Everything blooms, and the meadow smiles with colorful flowers, though the leaves are not yet strong. Spring strengthens into summer, becoming robust in its youth. No other season is more vigorous, fruitful, or warm. Autumn follows the youthful ardor gone. It's mature, positioned between youth and old age, with moderate temperatures and a few white hairs on its temples. Finally comes harsh winter, repulsive with its trembling steps, either bald or white-haired. Our bodies are indeed constantly changing. We won't be the same tomorrow as we are today or yesterday. Before birth, we were just embryos, a tiny hope for a human being, living inside our mother's womb. Nature used her skills to prevent our bodies from being cramped in our mother's stretched insides. She brought us out from that enclosed space into the open air. Newborns are weak. They crawl on all 4s like animals at first. Gradually, they learn to stand with shaky legs and wobbly knees, needing some support to stay upright. Then, they become strong and swift, enjoying their youthful years. After middle age, people slowly slide down the steep path of decline. This decline weakens and destroys the strength of their former years. Milo, once strong, now cries when he sees his once powerful arms, which rivaled Hercules, hanging limp and weak. Helen of Troy, too, weeps as she sees the wrinkles of old age in the mirror. She wonders why she was abducted twice for her beauty. Time, the consumer of all things, and hateful old age work together to destroy everything. Slowly, they wear everything down with the teeth of age, leading to a slow death. Even the elements we know aren't permanent. Here's how they change. The vast universe consists of 4 basic elements. 2 of them, earth and water, are heavy in sync because of their weight. The other 2, air and fire, even lighter than air, rise because nothing weighs them down. Though separate, everything is created and dissolves into these elements. Earth dissolves into flowing water. Water evaporates and escapes into the breeze and air. Once its weight is gone, the lightest air shoots up to the fires of the ether above. From there, they return and the cycle repeats. Fire condenses into thick air, which changes into water, and water condenses into earth. Nothing stays the same shape, and nature, the renewer of all things, transforms one form into another. Indeed, in this vast universe, nothing truly dies. It merely changes its appearance. To become something different from what it was before is referred to as being born. To cease being the same thing is referred to as dying. Perhaps things are simply transferred from one place to another, but overall, everything always exists. I agree that nothing stays the same for a long time. Golden ages turn into iron ages. Places constantly change their fate. Land can become sea and vice versa. Seashells can be found far from the ocean, and old anchors are discovered on mountaintops. What was once a plain can be carved into a valley by flowing water. Floods can flatten mountains into plains. Swamps can dry into sandy areas, and places that suffered droughts can now be filled with stagnant pools. Nature opens new springs in some places and closes them in others. Ancient earthquakes can cause rivers to erupt, but they can also vanish and disappear. So, after the Lycus River is swallowed by a chasm in the earth, it bursts forth from a different location and springs up again. Similarly, the great Ericinus River is sometimes swallowed up, then flows with its stream hidden and reappears on the plains of Argos. It's also said that the Myscelos River, tired of its original source and banks, now flows in a different direction, like the Caicus River. The Aemananus River in Sicily sometimes flows, rolling along the sands, and at other times is dry, its springs being blocked. The water of the Inigros River, which was once drinkable, now pours out water that you would refuse to touch. This is because, unless we disbelieve the poets, the centaurs, creatures with both human and horse bodies, wash their wounds there, wounds inflicted by the club-wielding Hercules. And what's more, doesn't the Hypanis River, which was once sweet, become bitter after rising from the Scythian mountains? Antissa, Pharos, and Phoenician Tyre were once surrounded by waves. None of these are now islands. The ancient inhabitants had Lucas attached to the mainland, now the sea surrounds it. Zancle is also said to have been connected to Italy until the sea separated the neighboring region and pushed back the land with its flowing waves. If you look for Hellas and Burrus, cities of Achaia, you will find them beneath the waves, and sailors still point out these flattened towns, with their walls submerged underwater. There is a high hill near Treason of Pythagoras, which was once a very flat plain, but is now a hill. This is because it's terrifying to tell the raging power of the winds trapped in dark caves, wanting to find an outlet and having long struggled in vain to enjoy freer air, swelled the extended earth, just as the breath of the mouth inflates a bladder, or the skin stripped from a two-horned goat. That swelling remained in place and still looks like a high hill and has hardened over time. Although many other examples may come to mind, either heard of or known to you, I will mention a few more. And besides, doesn't water also both produce and take on new forms? In the middle of the day, your waters, horned ammon, are frozen. At sunrise and sunset, they are warm. When its waters are applied, Athamones is said to ignite wood when the waning moon has shrunk to its smallest size. The Ciconians have a river, which when drunk from, turns the intestines into stone and lays a marble covering on things that it touches. The Crathus and the adjacent Sybaris in our own country turn the hair a color similar to amber and gold. And what's even more amazing, there are some streams that can change not only bodies, but also the mind. Who hasn't heard of Salmacus with its notorious waters? Who hasn't heard of that lake in Ethiopia, which, if anyone drinks from it, they either go mad or fall into a deep sleep? Anyone who quenches their thirst from the Clitorian spring hates wine and enjoys sobriety with pure water. Whether it's because there's a virtue in the water that opposes the heating of wine, or whether, as the locals tell us, after the son of Amython used his charms and herbs to free the raving daughters of Proetus from the Furies, he threw the mind medicines into that stream, and a hatred of wine remained in those waters. The Lyncestis River flows differently from that stream. As soon as anyone drinks from it excessively, they reel, as if they had been drinking undiluted wine. There's a place in Arcadia, the ancients called it Phenios, known for the dual nature of its water. Be wary of it at night. If drunk at night, it's harmful. During the day, it can be drunk without any ill effects. So, lakes and rivers have different properties. There was a time when Ortygia was floating on the waves. Now it's fixed. The Argo feared the Symplegades, tossed by the assaults of the waves crashing against them. They now stand immovable, resisting the attacks of the winds. Nor will Etna, which burns with its sulfuric furnaces, always be a fiery mountain, nor was it always fiery. For if the earth is a living creature and has lungs that breathe out flames in many places, it may change the passages for its breathing, and as it moves, may close these caverns and open others. Or if the light winds are trapped in its deepest caverns, and strike rocks against rocks, and matter that contains the elements of flame, and it ignites from the collision, once the winds are calmed, the caverns will cool down. Or if the bituminous qualities catch fire, or yellow sulfur is being dried up with a smoldering smoke, still, when the earth no longer provides food and oily fuel to the flame, its energies being exhausted over time, and when nourishment is lacking for its devouring nature, it won't be able to endure hunger, and left destitute, it will abandon its flames. The story goes that in the far northern region of Pellene, there are people who are said to have their bodies covered with light feathers when they have entered the Tritonian lake 9 times. Personally, I don't believe it. But it's also said that Scythian women, having their limbs sprinkled with poison, are known to use the same practices. But if we are to give any credibility to things proven by experience, don't you see that whatever bodies are consumed by the passage of time or by dissolving heat are transformed into small animals? Also, if you bury some choice bulls that have just been slain, it's a well-known fact that bees, which gather flowers, are indiscriminately produced from the decaying entrails. These bees, following the behavior of their progenitors, inhabit the fields, delight in labor, and work in hope. The warlike horse buried in the ground becomes the source of the hornet. If you remove the bending claws from the crab of the seashore and bury the rest in the earth, a scorpion will emerge from the buried part, threatening with its curved tail. Also, silkworms, which are known to cover leaves with their white threads, a phenomenon observed by farmers, change their forms into that of the deadly moth. Mud contains seeds that generate green frogs. It produces them without feet. Soon it gives them legs adapted for swimming. And to make them suitable for long jumps, the length of the hind legs exceeds that of the front legs. And it's not a cub that the bear gives birth to, but a mass of flesh barely alive. By licking, the mother shapes it into limbs and brings it into a form similar to her own. Don't you see that the offspring of honeybees, which the hexagonal cell conceals, are born without limbs, and that they only develop both feet and wings after a while? Unless he knew it was the case, could anyone suppose it possible that the bird of Hera, which carries stars on its tail, the eagle, the armor-bearer of Zeus, the doves of Cytherea, and all the species of birds, are produced from the middle portion of an egg? There are some who believe that human marrow transforms into a serpent when the spine has rotted in the enclosed tomb. But these I have mentioned derive their origin from other things. There is one bird which renews and reproduces itself. The Assyrians call it the phoenix. It doesn't live on grain or grass, but on drops of frankincense and the juices of the amomum plant. This bird, when it has completed the 5 ages of its life, constructs a nest for itself in the branches of a home oak or on the top of a trembling palm tree, using its talons and its curved beak. As soon as it has strewn in this cassia and ears of sweet spikenard and crushed cinnamon with yellow myrrh, it lays itself down on it and ends its life amidst the fragrances. They say that from there, from the body of its parent, a little phoenix is reproduced, which is destined to live as many years. When time has given it strength, and it is able to bear the weight, it lightens the branches of the tall tree of the burden of the nest, and dutifully carries both its own cradle and the tomb of its parent, and, having reached the city of Hyperion through the yielding air, it lays it down before the sacred doors in the temple of Hyperion. And if there is any wondrous novelty in these things, we may be even more surprised that the hyena changes its sex, and that the one which has just now, as a female, submitted to the embrace of the male, has now become a male itself. That animal, too, which feeds upon the winds and the air, immediately assumes, upon contact, any color whatsoever. Conquered India presented her lynxes to Dionysus, crowned with clusters, and, as they tell, whatever the bladder of these discharges is changed into stone and hardens upon contact with the air. So coral, too, as soon as it has come up to the air becomes hard. Beneath the waves it was a soft plant. The day will fail me, and Phoebus will bathe his panting steeds in the deep sea, before I can encompass in my discourse all things that are changed into new forms. So in the passage of time, we see nations change, some gaining strength, while others are falling. So Troy was great, both in her wealth and her men, and for 10 years could afford so much blood. Whereas, now laid low, she only shows her ancient ruins, and instead of her wealth, she points at the tombs of her ancestors. Sparta was famous. Great Mycenae flourished, so too the citadel of Cecrops and that of Amphion. Now Sparta is a contemptible place, lofty Mycenae is laid low. What now is Thebes, the city of Oedipus, but a mere story? What remains of Athens, the city of Pandion, but its name? Now, too, there is a report that Dardanian Rome is rising, which, near the waters of the Tiber that rises in the Apennines, is laying the foundations of her greatness beneath a vast structure. She then, in her growth, is changing her form, and will one day be the mistress of the boundless earth. So they say that the soothsayers and the oracles, revealers of destiny, declare, and as far as I recall, Helenus, the son of Priam, said to Aeneas, as he was lamenting, and in doubt as to his safety, when now the Trojan state was sinking, "Son of a goddess, if you understand the presentiment of my mind, Troy shall not, you being preserved, entirely fall. The flames and the sword shall afford you a passage. You shall go, and together with you, you shall bear ruined Pergamus, until a foreign soil, more friendly than your native land, shall be the lot of Troy and yourself. Even now do I see that our Phrygian descendants are destined to build a city, so great as neither now exists, nor will exist, nor has been seen in former times. Through a long lapse of ages, other distinguished men shall make it powerful, but one born of the blood of Iulus shall make it the mistress of the world. After the earth shall have enjoyed his presence, the ethereal abodes shall gain him, and heaven shall be his destination." Remembering it, I call to mind that Helenus prophesied this to Aeneas, who bore the Penates from Troy, and I rejoice that my kindred walls are rising apace, and that to such good purpose for the Phrygians the Pelasgians conquered. But that we may not range afar with steeds that forget to hasten to the goal, the heavens, and whatever there is beneath them, and the earth, and whatever is upon it, change their form. We too, who are a portion of the universe, since we are not only bodies, but are fleeting souls as well, and can enter into beasts as our abode, and be hidden within the breasts of the cattle, should allow those bodies which may contain the souls of our parents, or of our brothers, or of those allied with us by some tie, or of men at all events, to be safe and unmolested. And we ought not to fill our entrails with victuals fit for Thyestus. How greatly he disgraces himself, how in his impiety does he prepare himself for shedding human blood, who cuts the throat of the calf with the knife, and gives a deaf ear to its lowings? Or who can kill the kid as it sends forth cries like those of a child? Or who can feed upon the bird to which he himself has given food? How much is there wanting in these instances for downright criminality? A short step only is there thence to it. Let the bull work by plowing the field, or let it live to old age. Let the sheep provide us with protection against the freezing north wind. Let the well-fed female goats offer their milk to be milked by hand. Put away your nets, traps, snares, and deceptive schemes. Don't trick the bird with a sticky twig. Don't scare the deer with frightening feather decoys, and don't hide sharp hooks in misleading bait. If something is harmful, eliminate it, but only for that purpose. Refrain from eating it, and instead consume more appropriate food.